Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Get Wealth Podcast. Today I have here Sam Primm. He's a real estate investor, does it all, got rentals, fix and flips, storage, you name it. I found you on Instagram and you got a lot of cool stuff. Particularly what caught my attention was how simple you make it seem. Just in a short amount of time, you can kind of show how cool real estate really can be. And so I really like that, and you've had some success. So I'm excited to have you on the show today, man. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, real estate is simple. People get simple and easy confused all the time. I get all the time, you make that seem easy. No, it's not easy. It is simple. If you know what you're doing and know the path to go on and have, some systems and processes in place, it's not super hard, but it definitely is simple. But it can be hard, but it definitely is simple.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I like that quote. Simple is not easy, right? Because just because there's not a lot of parts to it doesn't mean that all the work behind it and all that isn't still there. So let's just start off with a basic question. How did you get started in real estate? Did you always want to do this, or where does that start?
Yeah, no, not always real estate. I've always kind of wanted to do my own thing. Grew up kind of playing sports, being competitive, and kind of doing jobs and doing business on the side. A little bit of lawn cutting here and there. Me and my business partner Lucas used to paint exteriors of houses. So paint decks and fences and houses in the summers in college. So we kind of always had that drive to go do more and to be kind of our own boss, being chance of our own like financial future, but wasn't always real estate related. We each got a job out of college and I was doing all right at that job, but I wasn't really loving looking ahead at my future. I was doing well. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't going to create the financial freedom and the impact that I wanted. Like I've kind of always wanted to, for better or for worse, I want to like impact my great grandkids kind of, impact. And you can't do that work for somebody else. I came to that realization after a couple of years, unless you got, three letters next to your name, CEO, and it's a big company, or your last name's the name of the person that owns the company, you're not going to create any type of generational wealth working for somebody else. You got to go on your own and you got to make your own way. And the best way to do that, like we talked a little bit earlier before we hopped on here, is real estate. It creates more millionaires than anything else times a lot. So, why try and, recreate the next app when I don't know anything about creating apps? How am I going to make this impact? And real estate's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what rang for me when I started interviewing all these people trying to figure out how to build wealth is, like you just said, that real estate is the most tried and true way. And even since the beginning of, recorded history, the net worth of someone is how much land they own, pretty much, which translates to real estate. So, I mean, that's what I find the most interesting. But say someone's like looking in and thinks real estate's not for me. Do you think it's a tool that everybody should have some capacity of understanding, just because even if you're not that interested, it's a great way to build wealth? Or do you think maybe find a different way if you're not interested in it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, honestly, if you're not interested in it, I wouldn't worry too much about it. You don't have to love flipping houses. You don't have to love, getting in and, redesigning a kitchen. And you don't have to love that part of real estate. That's not what real estate's really about, honestly. We'll get into numbers later, but I mean, 75-80% of what we buy, we wholesale. We don't even touch, so you don't have to really enjoy, flipping a house. That's not really what real estate is. But if you enjoy, going out and hunting down the deal, or creating wealth, or, structuring deals and creating processes and, making people's lives better by creating, better living environments for people. And so if you enjoy that, then I would say for sure get into it. You don't have to just automatically think, well, I don't like flipping houses, so I don't want to get into real estate. That real estate's so much more than that. So I can't really imagine that many people that wouldn't like some aspect of real estate. That's why it's so beautiful. You can have zero credit score and wholesale real estate. You have connections and a lot of money and fix and flip, or you can just get into rental. So there's really, can't really think of anybody's mindset or anybody's where they're coming from that they wouldn't like a type of real estate. So I would definitely explore all of them before you give up. But if you really hate it and don't like it, I would say figure out another way. part of what drives me and what helps me and be successful and people I know is that passion. Because it's not easy, like we talked about earlier. It's hard. There's ups and downs. You're going to lose money on deals. 100% you're going to lose money on deals. So if you don't have that passion, that's kind of that extra little push. So love the question. If I can't imagine, I'm sure there's a few people out there, a few personality types that wouldn't like real estate, but there's so much into it that if you like long-term plays, you can get rentals. If short terms, you can wholesale. So whatever you want, you can get in real estate. So
Yeah, you bring up another great point, because when I first started to think about real estate, my first thought was, oh, I'll just become a real estate agent. And then that's what real estate, the business is real estates that are showing houses to people, real estate agents that are showing houses to people and all that. And then the more you learn and the more you talk to people like you, it's like, whoa, this is a whole different thing. So maybe talk a little bit about your business and what that's grown into and kind of some of the stuff you do.
yeah, for sure. So in 2014, I got started getting rentals on the side. I think one that year maybe, and then two or three in 2015. So kind of started out slow, had a full-time job, had it kind of as a side hustle with air quotes, as a lot of people talk about these days. That's kind of the path I usually tell most people to go down, is to, have it as a side hustle before you go full time. But anyways, I started to get some traction there. And then in 2018, quit my job. So did my business partner, Lucas, and we went full time into real estate. And now we kind of do a little bit of everything. Last year, we, when I say flipped, I mean bought and sold. We flipped 204 houses, about 150 of them we wholesaled. So we closed on some of them, but you don't have to close if you're going to wholesale. If your audience knows about that at all. But so we buy a couple hundred houses a year, fix and flip 50 to 60 of them, then wholesale the rest. And then I have a rental portfolio of, I think it's up to, bad that I don't know this, I think it's up to about 88 single family rentals. Then I have 3 apartment complexes. I actually have 3 apartment complexes, one in escrow that's closing in 2 weeks. And I just got another one under contract about an hour ago. So that's exciting. And then I have 3 storage facilities as well. So I kind of like to do a little bit of everything. Real estate offers so much. I feel like people say niches are in the riches, which I guess can be true, but there's so much that you can do in real estate that, I like the active income with the flips and wholesales, long-term passive generational wealth with the rentals. And in those rentals, the singles, multis, and storage facilities, I feel like is a pretty good diversification for me.
Yeah, dude, you're like living my dream right now. That sounds so cool.
You got it. You can do it. You're just a couple years behind. You got it.
Yeah. No, you got to start somewhere. So let's start with, because you brought up wholesaling, and I've talked about it a few times, just interviewing people on other real estate investors. But can you kind of give a brief explanation just of what that means for someone who maybe doesn't know?
Yeah. So wholesaling real estate, you're basically just acting kind of like a real estate agent, but you're an intermediary between a buyer and a seller. So like a traditional real estate agent, they're taking their client out to go look at houses to buy, and they get one under contract and they write the contract up and they get paid a fee for helping that transaction along. It's the same with wholesaling. You're just dealing with investors. So you're finding distressed properties. You're not going to wholesale a property that any of us see on Zillow or online or anything like that. These are all off-market properties that are distressed, that need to be sold quickly for whatever reason. They're super outdated, won't pass any codes or anything like that. There's a lot of them out there. People just don't know about them. So that wholesaler is finding those deals, and then they go ahead and find a buyer. They'll find a real estate investor, somebody that wants to fix it up and sell it themselves or keep it as a rental. So you don't really even need money or credit, honestly. Obviously, it helps have those things, but you can get a property under contract to purchase for $150,000, and then have a 2-week contingency period where you can get some people in the house, and then sell it for $175,000, and then all you did was sell paper. You don't have to close. You don't have to bring any money to the table. At that closing table, the person who sold you the house gets $150, you get $25, and the person who bought the house that has a house for $175 that they're going to fix up and sell. So you're just kind of helping move things along into the distressed property world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's such a mind-blowing topic for someone who doesn't know about how to do that or what that even means, because someone who's not familiar with real estate investing thinks, okay, you have to have all this money and you got to buy a bunch of real estate, and then that's how you get into real estate. Well, at least that's where I was at. And once I heard like you can do things in real estate without having money, like wholesaling, getting started with that just blew my mind. So I think that's something that everyone should at least look at, because man, there's so many opportunities out there. Is that what you started with, wholesaling?
Actually, no. We started with rental properties. The goal was always rental properties. I didn't know about cash out refinances or anything like that. So I thought you had to put 20% down on every long term property, like a rental property. In order to get a note at a bank, I need to put 20% down. The bank would do the other 80%. And when I got started, I didn't have enough money to put 20% down on a rental. So I bought a house I used a private lender to buy it. I knew you could borrow money, watch the HGTV shows, whatever, Torque and Christina, whatever. I, saw that they borrowed money and then just split the profits on the back end. So I knew that you could do that. So I, ended up buying a house and was fixing it up. Luke and I were doing a ton of the work ourselves, trying to learn as much as we could on evenings and weekends. And then rather than, sell it and take that profit and put 20% down, we ended up finding out, learning about the, 80% refinance where you could get your money back. So it was, I always tell people, they ask, should I get into wholesaling or rentals or flips? And I just say, go find good deals. If you find a good deal, you can figure out your exit strategy. If you don't have money, then obviously you're going to wholesale it. But if it's a really good deal and you're going to make a ton of profit on it, flipping it, then you rehab it. And if it doesn't need a ton of work and it's a great rental, keep it as a rental if you have the funding. So I just always tell people, go find deals and let the deal do the exit strategy. So kind of a little, You didn't ask the question, but I gave you an answer.
No, that's a good way of putting it. Because I mean, really, that's what it comes down to, is finding the deal, right? There's opportunity there somewhere, as if you have it, even if you don't know what you're doing. If you go find a discounted property where there's opportunity, bring it to somebody else and they'll tell you what the
post it on
opportunity
Facebook.
is.
If it's a good enough deal, post it on Facebook. I mean, that it'll get sold on the local Facebook groups or even on your personal page. If you have a decent amount of followings, that friends will reach it. It'll get sold if it's a good enough deal. Ideally, obviously, have a cash buyers list that you're building. But if you get a good enough deal under contract, you can figure out how to make money on it.
Yeah, and that's great. So where does fix and flip and wholesaling come into the picture then? After you got a couple of rental properties, and then you start getting into the game a little bit more and learning about them, or what made you go into those?
Yeah, so I wanted to have the base of rentals to eventually have that freedom and be able to quit my job. But we came across certain deals that didn't make sense as rentals. It was a 110-year-old house and, the foundation's stone. And it's like, I don't know if I want to own that, for the next 15, 20 years, could have issues, could have a ton of maintenance down the line. Or we just had 2 or 3 rental projects going on at a time when we each had full-time jobs, and we came across a deal and just couldn't take it down as a rental. So we wholesaled it, or, needed some cash. Cause at first if you're getting into rental properties, you're not, it's a long-term game. So you're not going to make much money at first. So if we wanted to build up those reserves and have that safety net and not use any of our own money, which we still have not, everything I talked about has been using other people's money. You got to have some reserves. So we ended up flipping a couple to kind of get those reserves, and just kind of what I said, we didn't really know we were doing at that time, but just kind of whatever came up. If we keep it as a rental, we would. If not, we'd kind of figure out how to make money on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that I always like to ask is, at what point did you feel like this was your business, where you were financially free? Like, was it a certain amount of rental properties? Was it a certain amount of monthly income, or how did that go for you?
Yeah, I guess it was just kind of, I don't really ever, which is a blessing and a curse. I don't really ever sit back and think about what I'm doing or what I've done. I'm always trying to do more, but I don't know if it was really one like watershed moment, but more of just when I was able to, I had a really good job, where I was, making, $250,000 a year when in my early to mid 20s, when I was able to realistically see a path out where I could make that much or more. I had to, do flips and wholesales and do a few different things, but where I had enough rentals coming in, as well as the systems and processes to make that leap and go full time and have a team behind me, kind of was one of the moments. And the other moment is our flipping company, the one that I talked about earlier, that we buy a couple hundred houses a year. My business partner Lucas runs that, so that's passive for me. I don't run that. We buy a lot of houses and flip a lot of houses and wholesale a lot of houses, and I spend an hour a quarter in a meeting for those. So I don't know, it was really one moment or one like aha thing, because I'm always wanting more, but just kind of as things progress and just you see income coming in, and some of it I'm pretty active in and some of it I'm not very active in. So just kind of all kind of ties together.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. What was the next question I was going to ask? Oh yeah. So you mentioned using other people's money. That was a big thing for you, right? And up to this point, even.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some two main categories, right? You got like private money and hard money, and then there's the bank. Are you using private money? Is that your main strategy?
Yeah, we use a little bit of hard money at the beginning. Most people do, I think, because it's hard to find enough private. If you're wanting to scale at any level, it's hard to find a private lender to do that much. So you can scale if you're wanting to grow quickly.
Mm.
But yeah, at first a little bit more hard money than we do now. But every once in a while, hard money if we need something quick. We do it. We have a hard money company in house, which is kind of nice. But we usually use private funds and then the bank funds. So yeah, it's just using other people's money just allows you to scale so much quicker. Yes, like there's technically a little more risk there because you're paying somebody else when you're fixing up the property, but if you're buying deep enough, it's just part of the deal. Take it into account when you're running your rehab numbers, an extra $5,000 to pay a private lender. But it just allows you to scale. Even, I do pretty well for myself now, but even what I'm doing, we've bought two apartment complexes this year and added probably 20 rental properties. Putting 20% down on all that would be, I mean, millions and millions of dollars. I do pretty well, but not that well. So if you're wanting to scale and grow, you just got to learn to leverage other people's money and learn to, learn to utilize debt properly.
Yeah, and that's like you said, you're able to do so much more. So what's an example, I guess, of a deal where you were able to structure it using other people's money, or like a creative deal that you've made? I don't know. I've always liked those examples that are.
Yeah, for sure. So I have an example of one that, we do quite a few. It's a deal that we did about 3 or 4 months ago, a rental property. It's, the numbers are real close. I'm not going to the dollar and cent, but it's clean numbers. So this is the example I use. So we got a property under contract at a discount for $100,000. So it's St. Louis, not a super high end market, but it also is a discounted property off market that you usually don't see. So we got it from a local wholesaler for $100,000. Needed work, so we ended up putting a little more than we usually put in our rental properties. We ended up putting $50,000 into it. So we had $150,000 in the deal. We knew what the price was and we knew about what the rehab was. So we borrowed $150,000 from a private lender. He said, "Here's your $150,000, and give my money back plus interest when you're done with the project." So we ended up getting it fixed up, and at that point you can either sell it and make a profit and pay them back and keep the rest, or keep it as a rental. And we ended up keeping it as a rental. I got it rented for, I think, $1,900 a month, then took it to a bank, and they wrote us a check for 80% of the market value, or the appraised value, which was 200,000. So 80% of 200,000 is 160. So they wrote me a check for $160,000, a cashier's check to my business, like cash. Took that $160,000 check, and I owed that private lender, his name's Steve, 150. So I didn't have to end up giving all of it to him, but I gave him his 150 back plus interest. So he's paid off. He's done. Now the bank, I owe the bank 160 plus I owe interest on that mortgage, plus taxes, plus insurance, plus maintenance, plus vacancy, all the owning expenses that go in with owning a rental property. But I got it rented for $1,900 a month, and that more than covers all my owning expenses plus $300 cash flow left over. So it's $300 isn't, super cool. You're not going to retire on $300 a month, but I got 40 grand equity without using any of my own money, $300 a month cash flow. My private lender's paid off. He's ready to do another deal. The bank's happy. Got a great house with a great tenant in it. Made all the houses in the area value go up because they were, this was the worst house on the block, and just keep growing and scaling. So that and you can do as many times as you want. There's no limit. I could do that 1,000 times if I wanted. So anyways, yeah, that's just kind of a example of how you can use other people's money for a rental property.
Yeah, that's such a good example, because I mean, that's textbook, right? Like you got everyone paid, and then you have it and what you got out of it. But what seems like the scary part to me in that is if you run the numbers wrong, right? Because if you're, because that you were 10 grand over, right? That's, or up margin, I guess is what you could say. So is there a chance that you would have maybe missed something or got the numbers wrong before with the rehab and then had to owe him 10 grand? Or how do you make that risk lower?
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So there's a couple different things you can do. So be super conservative up front. It probably our budget, those are round numbers. My guess is on that, our budget was 35 or 40, and we still ended up, carrying costs and everything, and costs that you have while you have the project. And his so that's part of it, is being conservative. The other part was that property was probably worth 215, 220, so the bank just kind of appraised it low. They do that sometimes. So just be conservative when you're running your rehab, as well as when you're running your ARV, or after repair value, what it's worth fixed up. So those are kind of two things. The third is, worst case, you can sell it. If having a tenant in makes it a little bit difficult, but if the tenant hasn't quite moved in yet, or even you can sell it to like a hedge fund or like a big company that buys close to market value. There's always options if you have equity. So if it appraised for 180 instead of instead of the 200 that I needed, I could, sell it maybe for 180, 190, and then, pay off the lender, pay everybody back, and, pocket 5 or 10 grand. But at least there's an exit strategy if you have it at enough of a discount. So,
okay, that's a good point. Okay, I didn't think about that. You could just put it on the market or give it to someone else. Mm-hmm. With private lenders, and I know that it can get a little bit like legal, and you're not an attorney, and everyone should go get their own lawyer. But just for like, if you were to randomly say what you would do with a private lender, how does it work when do they just pay you to your bank account directly, or does it go somewhere else that holds it, that you invest into the project, or is that different?
Yeah, no, it's different. Yeah. It kind of depends on kind of the state, what how your LLC set up. So there is all that legal stuff, like you said, but there's a couple different options. One of them is people will sometimes put money into a title company, like an escrow fund, and the title company releases it. So there's a third party in there. That's kind of if you're a little more business-like with your private lender, if you don't know them as well. Most private lenders, you'll have a relationship or be developing one. And yeah, our private lender writes a check to our business. We throw it in our business account. That's all he sees of it. And then we use it and give him his money back plus interest. They're protected a ton of different ways. Private lending is a great thing to get into. We actually just had a couple of things going. We're going to get into lending a little bit as well, but the private lender is so secure. They're secured by the asset. So their collateral is the property. They're listed on the deed. So they're listed, they have a mortgage lien, or they have a lien on the property. If you get hit by a bus, it's theirs. They're listed as additional insured. So if it burns down, they're on the check written from the insurance company. We personally guarantee them. I don't know anybody that really doesn't do that. So we personally putting our butt on the line for it. And then there's, kind of some type of agreement that states, how much they're going to pay and how much they're going to make, that your business is a promissory note is what it's called, that your business is kind of guaranteeing it. So, I mean, there's 4 or 5 ways that they are. You're not going to get that type of security in anything but a savings account, and a savings account is what, 0.25%. So it's a great, investment for lenders. If they trust you at all and it's a good deal and you can articulate that to them, most of them are all over it because it's just such a secure way to invest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Okay. I'm learning a lot right now. So I appreciate all this. This is good. What I've mostly been focusing on for the past few months has been wholesaling. And then eventually, I'd like to get my own rental, but I think probably the next step will be a fix and flip. And I mean, I guess if the deal's there, I don't really know the order of what. My goal is 5 deals by the end of the year and keep one of them for myself.
But I like it. It's a good goal.
But that's probably small. That's probably not even in your ballpark.
No, that's my first year. I did 1 deal. I mean, a full-time job, but I had a partner with it too. So I just did 1 deal in 2014. I think it was 2015. We did a couple, but no, that'd be way faster than I started. So
yeah, I guess I'm part-time doing it. It's like a side thing. I'm a flight instructor right now at a school. So that's kind of what takes up most of my time. But how do you find a private lender? So is that your family, friends? Is it a business partner? What's the best way, actually, if you're starting out, to go find a private lender?
Yeah, so it's tough when you're starting out to find a private lender.
Right.
I always say that, and it's true. And a couple of my students just recently said, you were right. A private lender will find you eventually. Now, I'm not going to give more of an answer than that, but a private lender will find you if you're active and you're posting on Facebook or Instagram. You're not bragging, but once or twice a month, just the deals you're doing, you look for properties, or just did this deal, just finished this rehab. What do you all think of the finished product? Just you're active, and people are knowing about. You're talking about it at parties with your friends, golfing with your buddies. You're just talking about real estate a lot. They will find you every single time. I mean, it might take 6 months, it might take 2 years, but it's well worth putting your story out there to people. I mean, the last week or the week before, I had a couple of students. One of them say his CPA talked to him, or his person that does his taxes. I don't even know if it's a CPA or not, probably, but approached him and just said, "Hey, I see what you're doing a little bit. And, it seems like you're doing well. I'd be willing to give you 200,000. Will you give me a, 8 or 10% return on that?" And then another one was an insurance agent, just guy who's getting ready to retire, doesn't have millions and millions in the banks, but had, wanted to diversify his portfolio, thought the real estate market was, or the stock market was pretty high right now. So pulled out 150 to give to, one of my students named Cam. So yeah, it really, they will find you eventually, but that doesn't help you right now. So right now, what you do is, if you can't find any funding wholesale, you don't need funding for that. It helps have a little bit. And then hard money is easy to find. You do have to, most hard money lenders will look at some type of credit score and some type of income. Not all, there are no credit score, no income check hard money lenders. They're usually a little bit higher interest. But always be looking for funding sources, and hard money lenders. Just Google hard money lenders near me, or look them up on your local Facebook investing groups, and you'll find them. So always be talking, always be trying to find people. Go through your phone. It's your friends, it's your friends' friends. It's usually not a rich relative. It's usually like your mom's boss or your grandma's neighbor, or just one of your dad's golfing buddies that does well, and your dad talks about it with them when they're golfing. What you just got to get it out there. You're not just going to find where you're not going to go through your phone and text everybody you think that has money on a Saturday afternoon and give up after that. If you do that, you're not going to make it anyway. So might as well just crack open a Tito's and Club or something at that point. But you just kind of really just start to get it out there. And then in the meantime, as you're actively trying to get your name out there and come across people with money and connect with those people, you have wholesaling, you have hard money, and then eventually they'll come around.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I mean, you got a pretty big presence on social media from what I saw. I follow you there. Has that helped your business as far as just the reach of people that see your content and throw money at you? Have you experienced that?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. It hasn't really helped the flipping business. So the reason I'm, on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram is all, to educate. And then for my education company, where we have, mentorships and things like that. So it helps that company, obviously. But I do have people quite often reach out saying, I'd like to be a lender, or I have some extra money. Would you be willing to use it? Or how does this look if I'm willing to give you money? So I'm actually probably in a couple of years, probably gonna start a fund, to raise money to take down 30, 40, $50 million apartment complex deals. But that's probably a couple years out still, but that's definitely something we're starting to kick around right now. But yeah, just having a social media presence is invaluable. Having a following, having a brand. You used to have to have a TV, like the Kardashians. They didn't do anything. They just had a TV camera following them around. You don't need that anymore. You have your phone, so anybody can become famous. And it doesn't, not famous, anyone can just have influence and have a brand. It never hurts you to have followers, whether you monetize them or help them or not. But just having that behind you is already starting to become the wave of the future. Like directors are picking actors with more followers on Instagram over their acting skills. I mean, they've been quoted saying that. And whatever, Meet Kevin's running for governor in California. He's doing that because he is a YouTube star. So they're just so much that goes along with building a brand and building a presence and building an influence, whether it's raising money or getting deals. I would encourage everybody to do it, because there's 99% of people on social media are just, they don't give it all. There's still only 1% of people actually create content. So it's still plenty out there for people.
Yeah.
That was a long answer. I didn't know if you were going there with that, but I took it.
No, definitely. That's so true. Like if you think about it, the attention, really, once you have the attention, that's when you can print money. Like you were saying with me, Kevin, I didn't even know that. That's insane. But the Paul brothers, they're doing those boxing fights. Just everyone's watching them. And so advertisers, I mean, that's what social media is, just who can get the most attention. And that's how they make money off or billions of dollars off their advertisements.
Yep.
So you just got to get a little slice of the pie with your social media or whatever you can build up. One more question about private lending. Sorry, I'll move on from this. But when you have a private lender and you're paying whatever 8 to 10%, do you usually pay the interest while the project's going, or you do push that towards the end and pay it all at the end? How do you do that?
Yeah, we do them all at the end, and I don't know any. I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know any private lenders that will charge you during. It's just at the end, their money gain plus the principal back. So yeah, that's a beautiful. Another beautiful thing about that is you don't have to have any expenses out of pocket. Most hard money lenders, you have to pay like a monthly payment to them, interest only, of course, or not of course, but interest only. So yeah, that's private lenders. Most of them will just let you pay them at the end. And usually, like you said, 8 to 10, sometimes it's more like 12. We started out in that 10 to 12 range, and we've been able to get it down now, proving ourselves. But I would say most private lenders are 8 to 12%. And that's annualized, and it's in a short-term basis. You're not doing a 30-year note at 12% or anything like that. So.
Got it. Okay. So you mentioned you have been getting into storage units. When did that come into the picture, and how did you find that opportunity?
Yeah, so it was in 2019. We bought a 12 unit apartment complex, so a smaller one. And in the back of it, it had a newer 12 unit storage little building. Not many of the people that were renting the apartments were renting the storage, but I think that was the intent when they built it. But just kind of seeing that space, and kind of always was interested in that. I hear a lot of people said, ups and downs. People always need to store their stuff, whether they're have a lot of money and are buying extra crap, or they got to move into a smaller place or an apartment or whatever because the economy is doing bad. Everyone needs to store their stuff. So it's kind of not recession proof, but it does really well during good and bad times. So we've always kind of thought that. And then just came across a deal, came across an existing 66 storage unit facility that was not very well managed, didn't have a website, just, mom and pop type thing that was not doing very well. We're able to buy it, as well as the 2 acres next to it. And we're just finishing it up now. We ended up putting another 2 buildings. So we built 2. So I think we got another 50 or 60 units we built onto it, like smaller units, and then a bunch of open like boat and RV storage, and some enclosed boat and RV storage. So I think we're going to end up having like 175 doors there in that facility. So that's going to be a pretty good sized facility, but just kind of crazy, just kind of buy a good deal and figure it out later kind of thing. Like I said, I practice what I preach. So we just came across one, and we just closed on another one last week. So.
Yeah. What are the operating expenses with that like?
So they're not too bad. So that's a great thing about it, is it's pretty hands off and not much maintenance. Like I said, we're just finishing up the project, so we don't have like a up and running, fully functional storage facility yet. We have that little 12 unit one behind our apartment, but that doesn't really count. This bigger one, and then this other one we bought that we just closed on, this little bit bigger, that we're going to add a building onto as well. But yeah, there's not a ton to it. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's not like super high margins, but there shouldn't be much maintenance. Everything's automated. There's a gate that's automated. There's a place they go to get their key. We don't even have anyone on site because it's not quite big enough. I don't know, probably 300-400 units to have somebody like sitting on site. So we don't have anybody on site. They do it all online. They book online. They get approved online. And obviously, if somebody doesn't pay, we have to send someone to lock them out, or if there's an issue or something like that. But we haven't had a ton of that yet. It will happen, I'm sure. But people spending that $50 to $100 a month to get a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 15 unit, they usually can make that payment, or at least we'll try to.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, I mean, storage units, that seems like such a simple thing to do. Like the concept of it is simple, like you were saying, not necessarily easy, but I could see how there'd be a lot of opportunity there. So
yeah, you don't got to deal with toilets or tenants, getting in fights or having parties, or at apartments, tenants stacked on top of each other like we deal with. Everybody. Some people, I don't think, visit their storage locker once a year. So and they're metal and they're built well, so you don't have a ton of stuff like that going on. There's no basements to crack or leaks or anything like that. So it's pretty maintenance free. I'm sure we'll run into more issues that we didn't anticipate, like always that happen, but overall so far it's been pretty good.
Mm-hmm. For the systems that you have in your business to help it run efficiently and to be maybe a little more hands off, how have you implemented those, and at what point did you start to transition to more processes and rather than just doing everything yourself?
Yeah, so a lot of that is on the shoulders of my business partner, Luke. We talked about that's kind of what makes a good partnership, among a lot of other things, though, but offsetting skill set. So I'm more of the marketing, negotiating, sales, go out and find the deals type. And he's more the systems, the processes. He still does a lot of that to this day. I do still kind of do the bigger acquisitions. So just kind of an offsetting skill sets to do that. But as far as when we kind of did that, just as we started to grow, and we've always kind of had a team that we've had with us. So, if it was just us doing everything, our cash flow would be higher, but we'd spend a lot more time doing that. So we hire things out and have an in-house staff and have people helping us run things and do things. And yeah, it's not quite as much money in our pocket now, but it frees up our time to be able to grow, build other businesses, like, this education business that I'm focusing on, because Lucas is focusing on the flipping business and he's creating systems and processes and actually just getting ready to promote somebody to kind of run that. And then he's going to start to get into this, bigger multis that we talked about earlier, and going after some big deals. So just kind of building a business, building systems and processes as need be. As everybody is just overworked to the max, then hire somebody. As simple as that. Everybody's working way too hard and getting stressed. Hire somebody and just cut in income a little bit, but then it allows everybody to, have more fun at work, as well as, be able to do more things. So that's kind of what we're doing, is growing businesses and then hiring somebody and having somebody help us run them, and then trying to grow another one.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good business plan to me. Is there a point? So do you want to get to a point where, like you were saying, eventually your grandkids don't really have to step into like a leadership role in the company? Is it going to be just more of its own entity that is providing, or how does that work? Or how do you picture that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't put a ton of thought into like that type of details. I have a daughter, she's 5, but as far as what they want to do, I mean, I don't anticipate her doing anything in the business unless she wants to. She can do whatever she wants, but just being able to impact. I don't want to just give each of my grandkids get $10 million when I die or anything like that, and be able to hand that down to their. I just want to be able to create, a story for them to look up to, a story for them to, go after and realize that you can do more, be able to provide them with, monetary resources, but to be able to provide them with every resources they want, art school, or going, playing some, expensive sport, whatever they want to do. I just want them to be able to have the money to do it. I don't just want to hand them a check every month for 500,000 or 1,000, whatever. However, I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to impact them, financially, and then just always have that, to look back and up to, just, well, great Sam did that, or whatever kind of thing. So
Yeah, that's so good, because right, a lot of that, I guess the value in that comes in the process of getting to that point, right? Like I'm sure up to get where you are now, that's been, all the setbacks and the accomplishments, like that, all of that kind of turns you into, the success that you have been so far. So, I mean, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, for sure. Like my daughter goes with me to stuff now, looks at houses, and my dad, retired and doing well, but he, worked at one company for 38 years and didn't really enjoy his job, loved being a dad and coaching our sports teams and all that kind of stuff, but, didn't really do anything with him with work. So it's kind of it'll be interesting to see her growing up with knowing that her dad owns his own business and an entrepreneur, and, out looking at houses on weekends with her and driving around, driving for dollars, and just, doing all that kind of stuff with her, seeing how that impacts her. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that's great. If you were to put a time frame, like say if you were to say how quickly can someone become financially free utilizing real estate if they're working a 9-to-5 job, so like a 40-hour week, and they can dedicate so many hours, whatever is realistic, how quickly can you become to a point that you are a successful real estate investor, would you say?
I mean, so yeah, to become a successful real estate investor, you can do that pretty quick with the resources that are online, with all the free stuff you can get, and as well as potentially hiring a mentor for something like that. That can happen in a couple of years, but financial freedom, realistically, I would say that's anywhere from 5 to 10 years out. It doesn't take 20 years, but if you're able to scale and do things and create that side hustle where you can go full time and then really ramp it up to being financially free through passive income. I'm not gonna say it can it's going to take a year or two. It's probably more of that 5 to 10 range. I mean, some people can maybe do a little bit quicker, but realistically, if you're willing to work your ass off, probably 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, which
is a lot better than working to someone else till you're 65 or 70.
I was gonna say, that's like insane. That's revolutionary. Like most people are working 40 years to be able to retire when they're 65, and they're talking huge amounts of time, 5 to 10 years. That seems like such a short amount of time, but it's just a matter of I don't know, going out and finding, like, what do you think stops people from just saying, okay, I'm going to be financially free in 10 years?
Just fear, self-doubt, don't have the right mindset, weren't taught it, weren't brought up with it. Society teaches people to go work for somebody else till you're 65 and live frugally and put money away, and that's just what the movies show. That's just what school teaches. So that's just what people innately just, that's what's supposed to happen. That's the next step in my life. I go to college, which I went to college. You can still be, you don't have to do that to be in the real estate, but you can. And then I'm supposed to go get a job and then work for one or two companies. And then when I'm 65, retire and, go on vacation once a year and all that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of in people's minds and ingrained in them that it's okay to make some other company rich, somebody else rich. It kind of feeds the system. I'll live frugally and retire when I'm 65 and have 15, 20 years of retirement. And, last years of my life when I'm old and can't travel or can't do this, can't do that as much is, going to be sitting doing nothing, as opposed to taking action now and enjoying your life now when you're young enough to enjoy it and make those memories when you're young. It's just a mindset thing. And just what people are just, it's in their core, in their DNA, to just go work for somebody else.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to re-brainwash yourself to think the other way, because you're just taught to be a factory worker your whole life, and then that's just kind of, you get put in the little cog in the machine, and then you keep doing your part. I think that's what the most incredible thing this podcast has done for me is I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and I got the idea from that book. Just talk to as many millionaires as possible, and dude, it's really just completely shaped my mind, because everyone who's done it has that some similar mindset where it's like they think differently and they see it differently. So I've been talking to people like you for hours a week, and it's just completely, I can't think about it the other way now. I mean, I'm nowhere near there, but like I just got my first deal under contract on the 4th of July. It's closing tomorrow. So as soon as it closes, I think like there's no way, like that's going to be the proof of function for me.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's just everybody that is in that space you talked about, that you're talking to, they just get it. It's usually a mindset of abundance. There's enough deals for everybody. You don't need to stab somebody in the back. It's usually just, it's all in your head. You can be successful. There's everybody listening to this podcast that will ever listen to your podcast. There's people that have come from way worse backgrounds. They've had way worse parents. They've had way worse things happen to them. And there's a lot of people out there that are super, super successful, going way worse than you or I or anybody that's listening to this has gone through, and they can make it. So people just kind of feel sorry for themselves and don't really have that drive and desire. I don't really know what it is. Some people don't want to create financial freedom. So that's fine. I wish everybody did, but that leaves more for you and I.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to think about it. But I mean, that's part of the reason I want to do this podcast now. What I've learned is I think there's just so much great insight that people like you have to offer, where it's like, come on, wake up. Like this is right in front of you, like go and make something. The life is so short. Go out and live it, every single second of it. So yeah, another question I like to ask is kind of what's your definition of wealth, kind of going off of this topic? Like, what does that mean to you? Is it monetary, or, what is it? How do you see that?
Yeah, I kind of look at wealth as two things: impact and freedom. So it's not necessarily tied to a dollar amount. I look at wealth as freedom of your time. Like, you can be rich, but still have to go to work every day. But if you're wealthy, you don't have to work. You decide when you want to work. You decide if you want to work, and you have passive income coming in that you're not actively pursuing every single day. And then impact, as far as you're able to impact, not just yourself and your family, but other families and other people. Like we just started a 501(c) about 4 months ago, and we've already raised 40 grand. We're going to raise over 100 grand this year to help impact people. So just being able to impact people and have the resources to do things like that, and have the resources to impact, obviously people monetarily as well, but just having, your freedom of time and money, and then being able to impact people. That's wealthy to me. It's not just having, $50 million worth of real estate.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I heard someone say it, like everyone wants the money, because they don't have it yet. But then once you do have it and you're free, you can actually think clearly about what you want. And it usually is something like that where you can help people and have an impact. So, I mean, it's a part of it, right? But it's not the whole thing, which
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's obviously crazy people out there, but I mean, and just want to do that. They just don't have the resources to do it. And yeah, like you said, if you're able to create that financial freedom and have a clear mind, clear head, you can kind of go do what you want. And most people want to lift other people's up with them. There are a few people that don't, but most people do want to lift other people up.
Yeah, that's great. What's a book you recommend?
So I like Think and Grow Rich. You said that one earlier. That's a good one. Couple ones I have that I really like. I'm not even gonna say Rich Dad Poor Dad. Everyone says that one, sure. I like Eat That Frog is a good one. It's about doing the least excitable thing early in the day. So if like you're dreading doing things, and I do it, everybody does it, you push it off, push it off, push it off. And at the end of the day, you either do it half-assed or push it off to the next day. But if you do the least exciting and the most boring, whatever thing it is, very first in the day, you get it done, you get an energy high, you get pumped up, and the rest of your day is just a downhill track from there. So I love that one. That's a good one. Pitch Anything's a good one, just kind of about mindset and always doing that. And then those are the main ones. There's a few other ones that I like, but they're more like, growing a big real estate business. But I like to get my like mindset and my self-help. Good to Great by Jim Collins is awesome. My mindset and my, business acumen from books, and then my real estate knowledge I get from doing it. And then, podcasts like this, YouTube channels like mine and other people's, and just, getting that active knowledge from people that are actively investing, not, a book. Think and Grow Rich was written in the 30s or 40s. So, it's an awesome book, but that's not going to, teach you exactly tactical things about how to wholesale real estate, wherever you are. So,
yeah, no, that's good. For me, books and podcasts, like doing this, it's almost like something that recharges me. Like I get pumped up again. Or if I'm like kind of getting in a rut, I go talk to someone like you who's just killing it. And then I'm like, oh man, I'm back on the ball. Like, what am I going to do to be more like that? So
yeah, if Sam can, anybody can do it. All right. So that's a good mindset. I like it. So if this guy can do it, then I can do it. I got to get back at it. I like it.
Well, I mean, not to compare myself to you at all, but like just it's motivation for me,
No, I get it. No, I know what you're saying. I was just kidding, but yeah, no, I agree. It's like, honestly, I was kind of kidding when I said that, but not really. Like, I'm like, yeah, obviously I'm not an idiot, but I'm not like super, super smart. I don't like a photographic memory. People way smarter than me, but if, you can get, have that drive and that passion. And then, like you said, if it's going to help ignite in other people, then yeah, because I mean, it's true. I didn't have like super rich parents. I didn't have a horrible childhood. I had a great childhood, but I didn't inherit a bunch of money. I'm not like super smart. I just went out and took action. So hopefully that does motivate, you, or you probably are smarter than me, but just, you're learning and just starting to get in the game now, sooner rather than later. And hopefully people listen to this and your other stuff and get inspired to go do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Sam, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I've learned a lot. I'm sure anybody that's listening is better than they were before. So I appreciate all the insight. Where can people find you, and maybe anything you want to plug, anything like that?
Yeah, just find me on social right now. It's TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. I'll might be starting a podcast later this year. I don't know. Try not to do too much, but TikTok, YouTube, Instagram at Sam. Just one word, Sam Faster Freedom, no periods or anything like that. I try to give as much free advice as I can. Obviously, each platform provides different ways to do that. I can't really do a long video on TikTok. So obviously that's why I have YouTube and Instagram for things like that. So yeah, follow me on those. We have some mentorship, some different things we offer, but not really worried about that. I don't want to sell anybody anything. I want them to check out all the free stuff I give. And then, happens all the time. Message me, you're legit. You give it, what you're doing. You've been there, done that. Can I pay you for some more attention and focus? So that's kind of my thing. I don't ever really try and sell anything. I don't want to sell something to somebody that's not going to take action anyway. So if somebody reaches out, then I usually will give them, kind of our paid options, but just enjoy the free stuff. Take it. There's a lot of people I know that take the advice and make good money. So go do that. And if you want more, let me know.
Awesome. All right, Sam Primm, everybody, get wealthy.